Hello, everybody. I'm Jazze Maxie with 97.9 The Beat and Magic 94.5. And here we have Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Jazzy, great to be with you today.
Yes, I know you are a very busy man, and you're all
never
over.
Never too busy for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to talk about the mask mandate that you have imposed for Dallas County. You have went ahead and imposed the mask mandate, even though Governor Greg Abbott has banned enforcement of any mask mandates. Why have you decided to do that, and who does your mandate affect?
So the reason I decided to do it is our doctors came and they said, this is what we need to do to have enough capacity in the hospital to open beds and be able to help people. So last week we got to a point where we had no pediatric ICU beds. That meant that if your child needed a pediatric ICU bed with a ventilator, they had to wait for somebody to get better or to die, or they had to be care flighted to another part of the state. And, so we had to act. And in this war, human beings versus the virus, our generals are the doctors. And when they tell us to do something, that's what we need to do if we want to win this war. So that's what I did. And, that's what my mandate is about, listening to the doctors and doing what they are telling us we need to do.
So the mandate that you've enforced, it does affect all the businesses and schools and everything here in Dallas County?
So the mandate is for schools, for businesses, and also for county buildings. So currently, when the Supreme Court ruled, and what they ruled is that the GA 38, the governor's order, could proceed, but they didn't rescind my order. They said that could proceed too, as we settle this out and we hear from testimony and evidence. And so some schools, right now you kind of have this messed up deal where people can pick which order they like. And so some schools are saying, I'm following Judge Jenkins' order. And some schools are saying, I'm following Governor Abbott's order. Some businesses are saying, I'm following Judge Jenkins' order. And some businesses are saying, I'm following the Governor Abbott's order. Here's what our patrons of school and business need to know, though. Doctors tell us that you're safe when you wear a mask indoors and you go to places where others are wearing a mask indoors. So if you've got a business, my suggestion to you, strong suggestion based on what the doctors are telling me, is customers want to know that they're safe and the employees want to know that they're safe. So I'd strongly suggest that you require mask. And that's beyond it, suggesting it. There's an order out there, mask in your business.
So, it is in the Supreme Court right now. And so if they decide to rescind your order, are you going to try to continue to fight, for the people here in Dallas County?
I'm going to continue to work for the people as long as there's breath in my body. And I'm going to do everything that I can do to win this war. But the war is not against Governor Abbott. It's not against people I disagree with or that disagree with me. It's against the virus. We're all on team human being. And, I need some of our leaders like Governor Abbott to get on team human being with us as far as leadership. But regardless of how you feel or how you act, we're all part of the human race, and the virus is the enemy, not each other.
So let's talk about the coronavirus, okay? Initially, it came out, of course, it has changed the way we live currently. And now they're saying that this Delta variant is more contagious, it's more deadly than the original coronavirus vaccine that was originally discovered back in 2020. So tell us a little bit more about the Delta coronavirus variant and why is it so much more deadlier than the previous coronavirus variant?
Well, so the main thing about the Delta variant that makes it, cause more sickness and hospitalization and death is it's so much more contagious. So if you're not vaccinated at this point with the Delta variant, it's not a matter of if you'll get COVID, it's when you'll get COVID. and what is happening. So that the Delta variant, and this may only be helpful for our older listeners, but if you remember, before we had a chickenpox vaccine for children, every kid eventually got the chickenpox.
Right.
And that's the way it now is with the Delta variant. It is, we know it's more contagious than the chickenpox was. We don't know how much more. But for you young people that got a vaccine, you're like, I don't really understand what you're saying. But for those of us who had the chickenpox as kids, it was just a foregone conclusion that every kid would have it. And that's the way this Delta variant is. Now, whenever you have more people getting sick and more people going to the hospital, then you're going to have more people that have that possibility of not making it. Right. And so, for instance, today, I'll be announcing 7 deaths of people who have died yesterday. And, those numbers will sadly climb as the number of people who get COVID climb and as the number of people in the hospital climb. But, we can do something about that. We can get vaccinated. And Jazze, what I've heard from people, well, I'm not getting vaccinated yet because I already had COVID.
Yes.
Well, your old COVID doesn't help you against the Delta variant. And the Delta variant, if you get it this time, isn't going to necessarily help you against the Lambda variant, which is already here. We're finding that in people. And the one after that, and the one after that. Because as long as there's enough of us out there that are unvaccinated to get really sick, then this thing's going to keep mutating, because that's the way all viruses work like this. Think about it this way. If our immunity to the virus, if the flu we got last year, now we're immune to that exact strain of flu. If that virus didn't mutate, there'd be no more flu. We would only have flu 1 year, but we have flu all the time because the virus successfully mutates. What we can do, because the new coronavirus is new, it's called the medical term is the novel coronavirus.
Okay.
COVID-19, it's new. It started up a couple of years ago. So we've got a vaccine right now that if everyone would take it, we could beat this thing. We could be rid of it. It could be out there, that a disease that exists out there like the measles, but we don't have very many outbreaks of it because we're vaccinated.
Right.
But if we don't get that done quickly, it'll get to be like the flu, where you're forever having to come up with a new booster, a new shot. Some years you can't do it, some years you can. But it's not like the flu in that it is much more deadly, and it's crippling to our economy. People lose their work, people lose their homes, people lose their lives. So we need to get vaccinated.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, some of the things that I hear within our community, the African-American community, is it hasn't been out enough as far as the vaccine. It's too new. People who are fully vaccinated are still getting the coronavirus. They're saying that it seems fishy because people are trying to coerce you into getting this vaccine, and the list just goes on and on as to why they are not getting the coronavirus vaccine. What do you say to those people to encourage them to get it?
Well, so let's talk about some of those things. The fact that the vaccine is new. We've had problems in the past with vaccines over the last 200 years in 2 ways. Vaccines that were live virus vaccines, where it was a little piece of the virus in the vaccine that weren't done right. About 50 years ago, there were some problems with that. But this is not that kind of a vaccine. It's not a live virus vaccine. It's a different kind. So that's not a concern. The other concern is, well, when they roll out a vaccine, then they find out, later there's a problem. But with vaccines, the later is 30 to 60 days later. Now you see these drugs on TV where these lawyers are saying, hey, call me if you took a drug 5 years ago, right?
Right.
But those aren't vaccines. the problems with vaccines show up 30 to 60 days later. This thing's been out here since December without problems. So, you know, there's not a problem with the vaccine. It's safe and effective. On the other hand, we are discovering new problems all the time, like a problem called the long haul syndrome in both children and adults, where you get over COVID, but then, you know, you have problems with that. We just buried one of my best friend's mamas. Let's see, would be late July. She got COVID in January before she get vaccinated, and she lost her sense of taste and smell. She started having a bunch of problems with her breathing and keep getting lung infections. She wasted away on weight because she wasn't eating because she couldn't taste anything. And she finally died in July. So bad things happen to people who get COVID, and that's a fact, and we know that. And that is affecting our community. Every community is losing people because of COVID. But the concern that people have that aren't getting vaccinated, is one of the concerns is, well, what if something happens in the future that I don't know about?
Right.
Well, what you do know about is if you're going to get COVID if you don't get vaccinated. If you get COVID, a lot of really bad things can happen to you and the people you spread it to.
But what about the people who are fully vaccinated, just like our governor, and he just tested positive for the coronavirus. So some people are saying, why should I get the vaccine? People are still getting COVID.
Well, so that's a great question. So, you know, we'll take the governor and my friend's mom. The governor's vaccinated. Not only is he vaccinated, he went ahead and got the booster, you know, like 2 months before it's available, right? So he's really vaccinated. But he's having no symptoms. And what happens largely in vaccinated people when they do test positive for COVID is it stays up here in their nose, in their nasal passageways. And what is the killer on COVID is when it gets down into your lungs. So when you're vaccinated, chances are, if you get a breakthrough case, that it's going to stay up in your head and your nose and not cause you, you know, any problems more than a common cold. But if you don't have the vaccine, it's liable to get down into your lungs, cause you quite a bit of problems. The people that are in the hospital are overwhelmingly people who have not been vaccinated.
Okay. And, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, just with the mask mandate and saying that they've already had it, and they say you're encroaching on their freedoms. How do you feel about that?
So, you know, I mean, freedom, your freedom is important to me. I work hard to protect people's freedom, but we don't have the freedom to infect our fellow citizens with a deadly virus. Okay. So you have certain freedoms. You don't have the freedom, once we knew the secondhand smoke was bad, you know, to smoke on the airplane. Okay.
Right.
You've got the freedom to do what you want to in your own house, but you can't smoke on the airplane. And it's kind of the same thing here. You've got the freedom to, you know, walk around the neighborhood without a mask, go anywhere you want to without a mask, but a mask mandate says that when you're inside of a building, not when you're outside where the air is blowing, but inside where you're all breathing stale air with an air conditioner, then we need to wear a mask. Not because Judge Jenkins says so, but because the doctors say so. And that's what made me put the order in place. So it's kind of messed up when we think about all of the sacrifices that our forefathers have made, you know, serving our country in the military, marching against oppression and, you know, abuse from our government. All the things that they've done to make a better life for us, for people to say, I'm not, for the betterment of my country and my community and to save lives, I'm not willing to wear a paper mask in the grocery store. That can be a very, you know, frustrating thing. And the thing for people to remember, of course, is you may say, hey, I'm young and invincible. You're not invincible, but you may feel like you are. But the lady that's shopping next to you in the grocery store, she may be going home to take care of her special needs child who has bad lungs, or she may be going home to take care of her father who has COPD and can't afford to have a respiratory illness.
So the people that are protesting that we see, at Dallas City Hall and even in front of your house, that's quite a bit. Does that affect you and how you make your decisions within Dallas County?
Oh, it doesn't affect my decisions. It affects my family, but no, it doesn't affect my decisions at all. If anything, it kind of fires me up, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's the opposite effect. I wasn't expecting that.
So, but it also does, make me angry in that when they come to my house, when you go to my office and you're walking around with your long gun over your arm and you're yelling stuff, knock yourself out. But when you're at my house, right, then that's scary to my children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other night, they came and there was a lot more than this first night. It was a lot more than was expected, and there weren't enough police to keep them, from running onto the yard. I live in a normal neighborhood without, I don't live in some gated community or anything like that. I just live in a small home in a neighborhood. And so they came up and some people started jumping up and down on my kid's swing that I'd gotten for her when she was a first grader, her first day at school with her little elementary school written on it, trying to break the swing. So that freaked my daughter out. She stuck her head out through the blinds and said, get off my swing. And they started screaming the F word at her. And so then that in turn led to her not really sleeping that night.
They said that to a small child.
Yeah, I mean, and she said back to him, "I'm a child," and they did kind of chill a little bit after that. And also by about that time, the police got him out of the swing.
Mm-hmm.
But
she's a little feisty.
But so it has that effect. What I would say to protesters, and as you know, I've been involved in a lot of protests before being the county judge and after being the county judge on things that I believe are wrong in this country. But generally, when I and my friends are involved in a protest, it's not at somebody's house,
right?
And it's not angry. There are things in the world, there's injustice and oppression that makes you angry, but we're not angry with children. We're not angry with families. Mm-hmm. So I would just, encourage people that are protesters, although I don't really need to. The list, most of us are not involved in that, but these few hundred people that are coming out every day to protest, it's important to remember, there's some places you shouldn't go, which is somebody's house, and some people you shouldn't yell out, which would include people in their late 80s that are kin to me and children who are kin to me.
Right. Well, I am so sorry that happened to you, but I am glad to hear that you are handling it and everybody is safe. So that is good to know. Yeah. So also now that Governor Greg Abbott has the coronavirus, do you think that might change his position on his mask mandates?
I don't know. I think a lot of things are working to maybe get attention to this. So yesterday, the Paris Independent School District in East Texas, where 78% of the people in that county voted for Donald Trump, sued the governor over being able to put masks in their schools, and came up with a new idea of saying it's part of their dress code. He didn't have any control over the dress code. A group of parents of disabled children sued him in federal court this morning. Court orders are coming out from all these courts, and they're all saying the governor's overstepping his bounds. The numbers of the hospitals are continuing to increase. And so all of these things may make him join us on Team Human. I'm hopeful that it will. I wish him a speedy recovery from COVID. I'm glad he has access to the best in medical care. I think, it's important to remember that for a lot of people in the state, because the governor and others haven't expanded Medicaid, and so many people don't have access to that great medical care.
Mhm.
So many of our residents, if they were to get sick, are not going to have doctors come to their house and hook them up to Regeneron.
Right.
They're not going to be able to be tested every day when they come home from school
Mhm.
to see if they've got it before they give it to the rest of the family. So when we think about a policy for the rest of us, then I think it's really important that we follow the doctor's advice.
All right. So the most important thing that we can take away is wear your mask, practice social distancing, and get the coronavirus vaccine. And there's 3 different ones that you can get. Of course, it's the Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer, and the Moderna. And the Biden administration just approved that if after 8 months, you can get a booster shot if you want to go ahead and do that as well. So I think it is very important to get these numbers down. They have skyrocketed and these kids are in school, and some of those kids can't get the vaccine. And that's the scary part, right? So we have to protect those little bitty kids who can't protect themselves. So I definitely appreciate all the work that you're doing. And before I let you go, Judge, I can't let you go easy. Do you plan on running for governor?
Right now, I plan on finishing the fight here in Dallas County. I told a group of my first responders who were asking me that question, I feel a little bit like a football coach, and we're 8 games into the season. And the last thing I want to be doing is looking at other jobs. I need to get our people to the place where we are COVID free. Someday in the future, but not right now, but someday in the future, if I can help the state in a bigger group of people, then I can look at doing that. But right now, I need to be focused on winning this fight. And if I'm running around the state, running for governor, I can't be focused on winning this fight, keeping us safe here at home.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. If you decide to run for governor, definitely let me know.
Well, I will tell you this. Somebody needs to run for governor, because the person that we have doing the job right now is not leading and is not doing his job.
Well, you said it, not me. Thank you so much, Judge Clay Jenkins. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.